Running the numbers. Hello. Just a quick one, we're talking about the numbers in brokerage, we're looking at the brokerage market, we'll touch a little bit on charter as well. So these numbers we've collated them from using figures that are out there in the public domain, such as Boat International, Superyacht Times, and also using our own intelligence. So it's a little bit of a mixture of those three sources. So we are including, off-market transactions that we are aware of as well. So just to give you a little bit of an idea of where we've drawn these figures from. So general market overview, I think probably the best thing to start with is the wealth. The key element to our business is the wealth of our clients. So this is just giving you a little bit of a sort of focus on who's up, who's down, to get a bit of an idea of where we are. Because if our clients are feeling wealthy and they're making money, that is key to success for all of us as an industry. So, if you look through this, the green is naturally showing up, the red is showing down. So there's been a bit of movement there. But overall, if you look at the trends here, you'll see it's positive. So overall, we're seeing the wealth is up over the last few years, which I think is very, very encouraging. And also, we've got an increase in the global billionaire population as well. So all of that shows, hopefully, that we are in a market that is rising. There is a continued appetite for yachting. Long may that continue. And I think as long as there's confidence in the market, then I think there's a good future for us all. Naturally, world events do shape what we do, and recent events may turn around and we might see some sort of adjustment in the market in the short term over what's going on in the world, but time will tell. It's a bit early to tell at the moment. So just on yachts sold, so this is just to show how the market has grown. When we were talking about transactions a few years ago over 100 million, it was a handful at most. And you look now of what we've got. So we've got there, number of yachts afloat sold for over 100 million, 67. Over 150 million, 38. And over 200 million US dollars, it's 18. 10 years ago, as I say, this was unheard of. So this really does show the growth in the large yacht market, and it's really quite impressive. And I know there's a number of the shipyards are here with us today that will also testify how we've seen this massive increase in the size of the fleet. Just on, again, sticking to the market, so the fleet, it is dominated. We've got a total fleet of, 6,500 yachts, over 30 metres. Predominantly, you see 4,000 of that is in that 30 to 40 metre sector. And we've split out the fleet that is for sale and for charter. So we've got about 500, you're seeing there, total yachts for sale over 30 metres. We've got 819 in the fleet. For the motor, 120 for sale, and total charter fleet is running at just about 1,300 yachts. So it's quite an active fleet. There's a lot of positivity there. I think we've suffered from the sale brokerage market. We have suffered a little bit from a lack of inventory, but I think we are seeing that change, and there is a good fleet of yachts for sale and for charter. And again, showing the growth that we've got in our industry it is growing year by year. So this is again just showing the historical development of the fleet by decade. So really, going back quite a long time here, but you're seeing the massive growth really started. The 1990s, it started to pick up into the 2000 to 2010, then the 2010 to 2020. If you look at the increase in the fleet over that period of time, it was huge. We have actually seen that drop off a little bit since. And this is over 24 metres on this reference rather than over 30 metres. But you'll see, and what we've got in build at the moment. But actually what you see we've got currently from 2020 to 2026 on that second to last slide, and what's in build, I think we'll see actually we're going to have a very, very good level coming into this decade as well, and might see an increase in growth as well. Again, we will have to see in a few years' time, but I think the signs are there that we're actually maybe slightly increasing again on the size of fleet, maybe not up as far as we were in the 2010 to 2020 bracket, but again, it's all positive signs for us as an industry. Again, though this is, I mean, a bit detailed there, I think we can share these slides afterwards as well, but this is showing sold by month. You will see the 2021 figures there, which is the COVID bubble that we had. So post-COVID, there was this huge explosion in yachting and in the sales that we all witnessed during that period, and then it dropped off. We saw it drop off to similar to, I'd say, the pre-COVID levels, which happened relatively quickly, which actually was a good market for us all because we weren't complaining pre-COVID about the state of the market. So I think there was a little bit of a shock where everyone was very, very happy and selling boats hand over fist, and then it did return to what would be more of a normal, stabilized trading environment. This year, I mean, you see there's a huge spike in December last year. That is driven purely by the USA market, and that was the depreciation, the 100% depreciation allowance that came back in under the current administration in the US. So that came in on yachts and aircraft, and it meant that the transactions had to be completed by year end. So that's why you see that grey line, the last one on the right-hand side, showing a significant increase in sales happening and completing in December last year. This year, we've actually got off to a good start. That's the one that says 27 sales happened in January, which is the second highest year that we've had over the last few years. And also, if you look at February as well, it's an increase on last year. So again, I think it's very positive for us as an industry, and it's sustainable. And I think if you're looking at these lines, we are in a period where I'd say we're on the up. Sales are increasing. As I say with Mark, well, what's going on in the world, this may change. But at the moment, I would say we've started this year in a very, very positive position. Sold by length. So again, this is running through where the sales happen or the sort of the distribution of those. As you can see, there's no real great surprise there. It is dominated by the 30 to 40 metre market. That's where the significant number of yachts are being built. We'll head on to the shipyards in a while, and you'll see where those are. But there's driven, that 30 to 40 metre market is a significant portion of what we are seeing as an industry. And then naturally, as you're seeing, but again, across the board, if you look in 2024, was a slightly interesting year. If you look at the 50 to 60 metre market, it was quite slow. Part of that at the time, I think, was driven by a lack of inventory. I know people were scratching around, and there wasn't actually a great inventory in that particular size sector in that year. But 2025, if you're looking then, was a positive year, up all around in comparison to 2024. And there you see we're out of the starting blocks for 2026, so time will tell. If you get any questions, please shout. Happy to answer any questions. If there's something that you want clarified, just pop your hand up and I'll do my best to answer. No? So sales by company. We split this out a little bit just to show probably the dominance of a number of players within the market. So the top 5 brokerage houses, 610 yachts sold since 2020. The rest of the market, so 1,234. So there's 5 companies that have at least, well, if we're looking at a third of the market. And especially when you look at that on the average sale price, it just shows how there are a few players that are dominating in that larger market. If you're looking at the average sale transaction price, 19.4 million as opposed to 9.4 for the rest of the market. So just to give a little bit of an indication of how the market is split out. So shipyards. I know we've got a few shipyards. Yep.
How big is the rest of the market? How many broker houses are you talking about?
You're probably, I mean, for example, if we're mailing out to brokers, we send out to about 600 or 700 brokers individually when we're doing our mailings. Of companies, it won't be to that level. If you look at if you expand it out beyond the top 5, you'll probably find there's, I would say, 20 companies that probably deal with 50% of the market if you're looking at it as a whole. 50, yeah. And then there's a lot of sort of smaller companies that look after that. So shipyard analysis, again, we're looking, probably no great surprises here, but we are looking at from new build sales by country. Italy dominates that market and continue to do so, so 2024 to 2025. So these are the deliveries coming out. But again, across the board, if you're looking at 2025 in comparisons to 2024, again, it's all showing a fairly positive position. There are more deliveries out there, more yachts being built, which hopefully will demonstrate there is a good appetite for the market. Netherlands, and then if you see the line part of the graph this is sort of by LOA. So that's the LOA average coming out from those countries. So you'll see the Netherlands, we've got a spike there, and Germany as well. We've got quite a spike at the end, being represented by Lursen and Aberking there. So fewer numbers, but greater on an LOI standpoint. US in there, increase in the US, UK, Taiwan, Turkey, but as you're seeing, it is really dominated by, especially the bulk of the market is being dominated by the Italians. Global orders. So again, this is, 24 metres and above. So looking at the order book there, again, we've got Azimut Bonetti leading the charge, San Lorenzo, Ferretti Group. So all of those showing, again, the dominance by, across the board from 24 metres up by the Italian shipyards. And then you're seeing it levels off as we go a little bit further down. So just again, it's just reinforcing that snapshot of where these yachts are being built. Client nationality. So we split this into sort of, again, this is information from us. There's probably a little bit of a snapshot of Burgess. We are taking quite a bit of client information from publicly available sites, but also there's a little bit of a snapshot of who we are as a business. And you'll see, again, the dominance of the USA market for purchasers is quite significant. You're then followed by Europe. We've split out UK separately since we've been maybe a little bit divorced from Europe these days, Middle East, and then you see, but actually the dominance of the USA market, it continues to be the major driver for our industry. And for all of us, I mean, it's key to make sure we're looking after and taking that market incredibly seriously. Similar for charterers. So we've just split it out again. This is on our in-house data. For charters over the last 2 years. So it's a little bit of a snapshot of us as a business. But again, if you look at how that is dominated, especially from our side of it, by the USA and Canada, Europe and the UK. So, I mean, some of that will be maybe slightly skewed due to the fact that where we're based, but just to give you a bit of an idea to again show the dominance of the charter market by the USA and Canada and the importance of that market. And I think that's about it. So I'm happy to take any questions. It was a brief rundown through the market. Do we have any? Hi there. Sorry, I can't quite. Have you got? Oh, yes. From a tariff standpoint. Right. I mean, yes. I mean, I think part of the big beautiful bill, the depreciation came as a part of that. So actually, from that, if you see, that actually gave a huge spike to those figures at the back end of last year. I mean, the tariffs, I would say, yes, it will have an impact, especially on those looking at sort of importing yachts into the US and putting them on a US flag. Maybe a little bit more of a question for the shipyards also to pick up on that one at some point. But yes, I know it was interesting. I was talking to the CEO of Aston Martin the other day as well, and he actually said they stopped shipping anything to the US for a period of time. So it did have quite a significant effect on them. And I think actually speaking to a number of the shipyards, especially those that are looking to import the yachts in, it has had an effect, and people just taking a step back and just waiting to see what happens.
There's one in the back corner there, Adam.
Richard, thank you for the presentation. Asia seemed to make up quite a small chunk of that graph you showed, but there's been a lot of talk about them being an emerging market.
Yeah.
Do you see that gap increasing?
I mean, Asia, I think, is a really interesting market. I mean, personally, when we launched into Asia, I spent a lot of time out there in actually helping to build the business over there. It was very much about market making as well when we were on the ground and going around and visiting people and almost selling the idea of what yachting, can achieve, especially from a lifestyle standpoint. I mean, it's been in fits and starts, and it seems to be, I would say it's quite volatile. I think San Lorenzo are doing quite well out there through Simpson Marine in that sort of, maybe in the slightly smaller end of the super yacht world. But I think it will grow. I mean, the wealth is there. I think the aspiration is there to get into yachting and get involved. But I think there is a bit of market making that we all need to do as an industry as well.
Do we have any other questions on Slido, or is everyone done for Richard?
We're all done. I think I'm about on time as well.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.